Hi everyone, meteorologist Steve Caparata here from the WAFB First Alert Weather Center. Wanted to give you an update on Francine. It is late Tuesday night, now almost into Wednesday as I record this, but I know a lot of you are a bit restless tonight. So I wanted to give you a look at the latest. A little bit discouraging in the latest trends because it did get a bit stronger. The Hurricane Center putting out a special update a little before 10:30 Tuesday night. Hurricane hunters out there flying, found maximum winds up to 85 miles per hour. Pressure down a little bit more. So unfortunately, that strengthening that it seemed to be kind of slow to occur is now underway. Moving to the northeast at 10 as of the 10 p.m. advisory. And there you see it. Forecast potentially reach the Louisiana coast at Category 1 intensity. Don't rule out Category 2. I wouldn't focus on 1 versus 2 too much because the difference there is pretty negligible in impacts. Obviously, you'd rather see lower winds than higher, but bottom line is we need to all be ready for potential hurricane impacts, especially along the coast. So it looks like right now that most likely occurs Wednesday afternoon, maybe as late as Wednesday evening. Most likely landfall location, we're starting to get in that window where we can kind of narrow it down. Right now that appears most likely in St. Mary or Terrebonne parishes. You see how the official forecast then kind of brings it right across the heart of southeast Louisiana into southwest Mississippi. So right now, the most guidance kind of points towards the most likely inland track occurring somewhere between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, which would subject both metro areas to potentially significant impacts. Speaking of that, let's get into some of the impacts. So in red, we do have a hurricane warning right now. That's Baton Rouge southward down to the coast. I wouldn't be surprised to see that extended into the city of New Orleans. We'll see what the Weather Service decides. But ultimately, widespread tropical storm force winds, hurricane winds likely along the coast, and then inland, it's going to depend on how close you are to the center of the track. Now, let's give you a look at one of the model perspectives. This is the European. Track-wise, it's not too far off of the official forecast from the Hurricane Center, so let's go with it. So you'll see here through the morning, things have come in a little slower with the arrival today versus what we were showing you on Monday, but it does show tropical storm force winds arriving on the coast probably Wednesday morning. That's right around lunchtime. Those tropical storm force winds overspreading a good chunk of southeast Louisiana through the afternoon Wednesday, especially in the Wednesday evening, and then where you start to get into the shades of kind of the purple, pink, magenta, those are hurricane force gusts. And if you can make it out, it's pretty big numbers. European shows what looks to be a healthy hurricane approaching landfall there. That's 6 o'clock Wednesday evening. Again, kind of honing in St. Mary, Terrebonne parishes. Now, as we advance this is going to be a key. You also see the European shows it's starting to weaken fairly quickly right about the time of landfall. Boy, this is going to be a race. Got some dry air, some wind shear in play, and we do expect those to be factors, but will they be too little too late? So by 9 o'clock Wednesday night, you've got widespread tropical storm force gusts covering much of southeast Louisiana. Potentially some hurricane force gusts getting closer to I-10 in spots. And then by midnight, here's our center. It's close to I-10 between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. You do note the European is bringing the wind intensity down. Now, that's normal over the land, but looks to be doing it fairly quickly, but we're still looking at intense winds, anybody that falls near the track of that storm. All right, there we are Thursday morning, starting to lift into southwest Mississippi. Tropical storm force winds starting to move out of southeast Louisiana, and I think by lunchtime on Thursday, those probably largely will be gone. Now, this is my best estimate of some of the peak wind gust potential. It won't be this bad everywhere on the map. Don't take it literally for your location, and anywhere like specific spots and a certain shading there. Not everybody's going to get winds that strong, but I wanted to give you an idea kind of what's maybe the reasonable worst to expect in a given location. And what you'll note here on the map is that we've got first widespread tropical storm force gusts. That seems to be all but a certainty. Metro Baton Rouge, I've got much of the area potentially, on the high end, gusts in the 50 to 70 mile per hour range. Again, not everybody's going to get up around that 70 mile per hour range, but it's possible. And then as you get near and east of the track, we could get some 70 to 90 mile per hour gusts. Some of those 70 plus gusts could reach into places like New Orleans. That map is posted on social media if you want to take a little more time to look at that a little more closely. All right, this graphic shows a couple of things. Number one, the probabilities of sustained tropical storm force winds and sustained hurricane force winds. The likelihood of sustained hurricane force winds into Baton Rouge, that's very low. However, you'll note that the Hurricane Center does have nearly a 90% chance as of the 10 p.m. Tuesday advisory of sustained tropical storm force winds into Baton Rouge. And then you can kind of pick out the timing via the Hurricane Center's outlook. And what they show is the probability of those tropical storm force winds really peaking late Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. So that's the best estimate of when the worst would be in the Baton Rouge area. Morgan City, tropical storm force winds are all but a certainty. Note about a 25% chance of sustained hurricane force winds. That's a big deal. And by the way, Morgan City announcing late Tuesday night they're putting a curfew into effect Wednesday morning. That will continue into Thursday morning. But the timing here of those tropical storm force winds arriving sooner, as you might expect along the coast, and getting out a little bit sooner. And then up towards Woodville, Mississippi, as you might expect farther inland, the odds of tropical storm force winds a bit lower, still about a 67% chance according to the Hurricane Center. Number might be a little high, and the probabilities probably not really peaking until early Thursday morning if you're up and across the state line. Storm surge warning for almost the entire coast, including around the lakes. The lakes now forecast to get 3 to 5 feet of storm surge that impacts the lower reaches of some of the local rivers like the Tickfaw, the Amite. Backwater flooding starts occurring, water gets pushed in, the rivers can't drain, so be ready for that. And then we need to watch, see how much rain falls on top of that. Right now it's mostly minor river flooding that it's currently forecast, but a lot's going to depend on where the rain falls and how much occurs. Flood watch is in effect through Thursday morning at 7 o'clock. As it stands as of late Tuesday, the Weather Prediction Center I'm going to outline for you. Generally in this region that I've outlined, going anywhere from 5 to 10 inches of rain on average. Could be higher in spots. We get some of those heavier rain bands, and that could shift too depending on the track. So that's nothing to sneeze at. It's maybe not the extreme totals we can sometimes get in hurricanes, you can sometimes get 20 inches plus. This system's going to be moving fairly quickly. It helps a little bit, but still could get some big rains. As we almost always have, there's the threat of a few tornadoes with a landfalling tropical system. Right now, Storm Prediction Center kind of pinpointing the greatest threat a little bit east of Baton Rouge, 2 out of 4 slight risk. No surprise there. The greatest threat for tornadoes typically in the northeast quadrant or northeast of the center of circulation. All right, so trying to get a lot of information in there, tried to cram it in. First alert weather day, Wednesday. As we all need to start hunkering down. You might still have an opportunity to get some stuff done in the morning. I would say by lunchtime, hopefully inland, time to start locking it down. Closer to the coast, got to be sooner than that. The good news is things will improve rapidly on Thursday. And as we get into the weekend, mainly dry. Here's something to watch. What do we have power outage wise, right? Because it does start to heat up a little bit. Not extreme, but we're talking about highs up around 90 degrees. So if we have power outages and highs around 90, that becomes a concern. By the way, if you're running a generator at any point, please be careful. And you absolutely need to have carbon monoxide detectors on hand if you're going to run those generators. Otherwise, looking into next week, kind of a return to normal. All right, that is the latest, my best estimate of what to expect. As I wrap this up, it's 11:50 p.m. on Tuesday night. So by the time many of you see this, it'll actually be early Wednesday. Get ready. This is going to impact much of southeast Louisiana, and the First Alert Weather Team will be here to get you through it.